One of the odd things about coming up here is you're coming up here after playing two matches, and those are, sometimes you have different types of feelings regarding each of them, rather than just doing one of these right after just one game. I thought the UCLA match. I thought that we put together one of our better matches of the season. I thought. We came out firing. I just thought it was just a great match for us. The next match against Southern Cal, I also thought is a match that is going to do great good for us. Although you come down with the loss, I just thought that was a match that was just going to be so good for both teams. And that's not me putting a positive spin on a loss. It's just genuinely what I believe is. It's been a while since we've been in a four-setter. It's the first time this year that we've been in a match like that. And when you've got a team like ours, we played these guys this time last year, and we had one player that played in the match on yesterday that played in that match at their place a year ago. And so, it's not just young, but it's young and new team. And so any time that you're able to get into matches like that, most of our matches this year have been 3-0 or 0-3. There hasn't been too many where we've gone to 4 or 5 sets. And then yesterday, it being I think there are 30 ties throughout the match. It just back and forth for those first 3 sets. And then the fourth set falling behind by 9 and getting ourselves back and tying it up at 22. I thought showed a lot of grit, a lot of stick-to-itiveness and fight. And those are some characteristics that we've been trying to get our guys to have is to come out swinging. I think by nature we've got a lot of players that are kind of, by their nature is a little bit more go with the flow, which can be good in some situations. There's not a panic. There was not a panic yesterday in the fourth set, but we're also trying to have them get a little bit more giddy up, I would say at times. And, the more that we can be in those types of matches and kind of dig in and fight and scratch, I think for our long-term growth of this season and kind of moving forward is healthy for us. Now, there's quite a few things in Endgame situation that fourth. We tied up I thought we put in a couple really, really good serves that at 22. Or a really, really nasty serve that got them out of system that they were still able to score on. We missed a dig at the next point after that. Then the final point was just an excellent rally. But, I thought there was a lot to take from both these matches this weekend. We've got our West Coast trip in front of us. We leave on Wednesday for Seattle for our Friday match, and then play at Oregon on Sunday. So a big challenge in front of us that we're certainly looking forward to growing and moving forward.
In that fourth set, it was unusual in a lot of ways, but you burned 2 timeouts early to try and stop it. I think it's maybe 7-2 or 9-2. You'd used them up. You had no challenges left. And for a long stretch, they were kind of on their own and trying to figure it out. Watching from your spot there, what did you see your players doing on their own to turn that around?
There's a lot of teaching that is going on, and there's some times that you're giving longer ropes, and there's other times that it's shorter, There are certain characteristics that I think we're wanting our team to have, and when they're not displaying that, we're going to try to get in there right now. As you get further along in a season, I think as you get further along in a career, I think there's a little bit more trust build up with a veteran team. Where right now you're kind of molding a little bit, and which is, I mean, I thoroughly enjoy that process, right? And it was two teams up to that point that were really, really battling. We were down 2-1, and you lose a close third, and I thought maybe we came out in the fourth a little bit frustrated, and that you can't have 1 point lead to 2 or 3. You can't have one set loss turn into another. And so when you see that it's that, and they're taking their foot off the gas, you have to, get in front of them and say, no, this is get back in the ring. You got knocked down, get back up, dust yourself off, and let's get back in the fight. And so, that was a little bit of the message. We blew a couple adjustments that we made coming out of the third that I was a little bit irritated about. So we fortunately they gave us timeouts to let them know about that frustration, and that we need to get back on, following what it is that we're trying to do. And, but one of the things, what do you do when your back's against the wall? That shows your character. That shows what you're about. We talk about having a bring it mentality when things get tough. Are you going to stand there? Are you going to make excuses? You're going to get smaller? Are you going to stand there and bow up and say, let's go? And, and I thought our kids did that. I thought they did a tremendous job. I know it's not often that we walk out of a field house with a loss. Our kids didn't even know. I first thing I said to them is, hey, we don't walk away from doing varsity because we lose. They didn't know, that we do varsity after, no matter what. So, yeah.
Kelly, what do you think you've seen in terms of growth from Addie as she's taken on this new role, and what has stood out about what she's provided, knowing now it could be a little bit more of a long-term position for her this season?
The things that we're working on, you can see her getting better. Her footwork is getting better. It's one thing to have, with anything of let's just say footwork. It's one thing to have footwork in practice when they're, but it's another thing of, does that footwork, do your techniques hold up when the lights are there, right? That's the thing with sports is, under the pressure and under, repetitive over and the speed of the game. And her footwork has been a lot better than what it was at the Penn State match. We're trying to get her set with a little bit more range. So there are some things like setting off of 1 foot, some of their spin moves that she was, you go back and watch the film yesterday and you're like, man, you weren't doing that a couple weeks ago. She's digging a little bit better than what she was probably at any point in her career. So when she's making some of those moves, you're like, all right, that's coming. So there's things that from a growth standpoint, they're all over the place with her. You see growth, all right, we were working on that, and you're putting it on film, and we're working on that, and you're putting that on film. And you try not to get so results oriented that you just crush a kid that's just getting started in her career, right? She's 5 matches in, and so you hang on to those growths. You try to keep the confidence high because that's really critical of that position. And the fortunate thing is you're dealing with somebody who is pretty confident, and kind of like this for a lot. So you don't need to do a lot of pump it up, but you certainly don't want to destroy because of what because you're expecting somebody to be at the same level as what your All-American was prior. That's unrealistic. For anybody to do that, and we're not going to apply pressure. We're going to try to relieve it, but we're just going to teach. That's what we do. We teach and you teach and you teach and you teach and you teach, and that's kind of. And fortunately, we've got somebody in that position that just wants to soak it up.
You were mentioning yesterday with not having a ton of depth, kind of big picture looking at kind of Gracie and coming back, kind of what impact does she have for you guys, and what are you guys able to do with her that maybe you haven't been able to do as well these last 3 or so weeks?
Yeah, it kind of reminds me. I got a text from a parent, probably maybe an hour ago. Not one of our parents, a different parent, and just said, "Hey, it was somebody that I've known for a long time. It was one of the players that played yesterday for the other team. I coached her mom in college. We're from the same hometown, and said that was, she said that was one of the best environments she's ever played in. And, I mentioned that because when Grace came in, I mean, that was just a really, really cool moment. I don't know if people realize the impact that has on athletes when they're coming back from injuries is to hear a roar of the crowd. I mean, it's an emotional thing for many of them because of how much lonely work that they're putting in to try to get back. It's just, and when you hear that, it's just, it's unbelievable. And I'm sure that was for Grace. I mean, it was a cool reaction. We brought her in probably a little bit sooner than what I thought we were going to, but we felt like it wasn't her offense that we're necessarily needing. Their outside was kind of teeing off on us, and we needed her block a little bit more so than anything. And she did. The hitting percentages started coming down a little bit on their left pin. I thought defensively she was fantastic. I mean, that was probably her best defensive match that I've seen her play in the backcourt. She was really, really good. We still got to work on that connection. It was pretty obvious with her and Addie. The hitting percentages got to get a little bit up, and we weren't getting much production. When I say production, I don't put that on one person, but that combination with our setting and right side attack was not where it needed to be on either match this weekend. But I like where Grace is trending, and she's going to be an important player for us.
So Kelly, just with going out west this week against Washington and then Oregon, just what are the challenges that you see on the court between those two programs, but also anything that you have to worry about with heading out west and even at I know it's 7 p.m. Pacific time, but 9 p.m. Central time?
Yeah. That's one of the things you have a choice of, do you go a day before or do you go a day after? It's a little bit different than just going out there and playing one game and coming back, right? And so because you've also got to take into account the back end and multiple time zones and how your body's feeling and things like that. It's almost easier to go out there, the day before you play one game and you come back, as far as what the effects are. But you get about 3 days out, and that really kind of hits you a little bit. And so we get out there 2 days in advance and play a Washington team that has had some really, really good results. They just, I think, had a barn burner, took down Penn State. Oregon is in a situation of transition right now with a new coaching change and a big turnover. So that'll be a totally different team, totally different style than what they've been the past few years. I'm probably a little bit, I haven't got to that point yet of digging in too much on those guys quite yet.
John?
Kind of went a little bit under the radar considering got released, I think, minutes before your match yesterday, but the NCAA came up with their first selection committee, top 16. You guys are number 12. Do you think that's a fair spot, and kind of what would be your selling point in terms of your postseason resume to this point?
Yeah. I think those things are great for the sport. I'm a huge fan of any sport, right? You get people talking about things. It's awesome. I'm so much more concerned about how we're playing, obviously, than those things. But I would say, and it sounds a little weird following a loss, but there's a lot of different metrics out there. Our sport uses very little of them, and the RPI is so dependent on your schedule and who you're playing. We've got one team that we play. We play very, very few non-conference matches by design, and but what that means is some of those teams that you play have the ability of really driving your RPI down. We've got one team on the schedule that I think is still winless, and another one that's only picked up 2 or 3 wins, and so that's 2 out of 8. I'm not great at math, but that's a lot of influence on our RPI, where I think all the other metrics have us in the as of a week ago 4 to 7, 4 to 8 range. So you've got about 4 of those metrics that have it right around there, and then you've got this outlier with the RPI that has us at wherever they've got it, 14, 15, 16, somewhere around there. Probably going to be a little bit lower, but I guess that'd be my full answer on that. That we've got to do a better job of a sport, I think, of bringing in some other metrics into those decisions. But I have no problem with what would you say, 12? Yeah, I don't know if I've got a massive problem with it. We've got to get better, ourselves. We've got to get healthier. We've got to get better. We've got to grow as the season is, and if we do that, I feel like we'll be able to put out a team that is going to be capable of going up against anybody and getting a whale of a match.
How have you been able to keep Charlie involved when she's, not able to go? And in what ways have you seen her help Addie, just given Charlie's experience?
Yeah. It's beyond Charlie. It is a challenge for anybody, and we talk about this as a staff a lot, is because there's part of you that are always like moving forward, right, with the team and who's out there and things, but you've got other people that are kind of doing some things that you want to kind of bring along, and naturally sometimes for coaches it's easy to kind of, if you're not careful, leave somebody in the dust. And I don't care if it's somebody's talent is Charlie or somebody who doesn't play that much, but it's I think any team is better when everybody is kind of on the train moving together. One of the things with Charlie, she's naturally a connector. She naturally wants to be around other people and connect with people and checks in with people and things. So she kind of helps herself in that a little bit. When you have some people that aren't like that, then you really need to be doing more. But she's still a captain for us. She's one of our 2 captains, and she's trying to get herself do everything she can to get back on the court this year, and hopefully that can happen. But she's still leading, and she's not a big demonstrative person on the court for us, so she's kind of more of a, at any point, just kind of touching base with different people and talking. I still see her doing that, but it's mixed in with a heck of a lot of rehab throughout the course of practice, a ton of rehab.